Welcome to Petty Revenge. For all your stories of small victories over those who have wronged you. Hit that like and subscribe and let's go.
Whereas John Smith. One day during the time I was employed at a hardware store, I got a call via my department's phone. Answering it, the lady on the other end asked if we had product X. I forgot what it was specifically. I told her that unfortunately, we were out of that specific item and she did not take that well. Even more so when I told her I didn't know when we'd be getting more, as that was not one of my responsibilities. She then raised her voice a little and said the dreaded question. Do you know who I am? Oh crap, I was dealing with a Karen. What position would the wild Karen threaten us from this time? Lawyer? Doctor? Maybe city council? I'm a librarian from, insert place here. My mind honestly blanked out a little there. That was a new one. That was the first and to this day only time I have ever heard somebody use librarian as their supposedly, I'm better than you, job. Nothing against librarians, of course. I just found it odd. Once I snapped out of it, I again told her I couldn't do anything about out-of-stock items and she just got madder. It was then I heard the phone being passed to somebody else. I prayed that the new person had common sense. Unfortunately, I got the complete opposite. The woman's husband began yelling at me in heavily accented English. The lady also had a heavy accent, but her husband spoke at a high speed as well, making it near impossible to understand him. I did pick up stuff like, you need to respect your elders, and, low-wage worker, though. In the midst of this, I hatched a plan. This plan involved me taking my experiences from the scant time I had in drama classes and using it to make myself sound as weak and pathetic as possible. Looking back on it in retrospect, I don't think I needed to do that for the plan to have worked, but I did it anyway to make the man think he had a psychological advantage over me. He then demanded I give my name so he could tell my manager and get me in trouble. My name is John Smith, sir. I said in a timid voice, the first fake name that came to mind that also didn't match up at all with any of my coworkers. He believed it without any hesitation and jeered at me that I was going to get in trouble for whatever it is they thought I did wrong in their delusional heads before hanging up. I'd like to say my petty revenge ended with just them wasting their time trying to tell my superiors that John Smith existed, but it didn't whilst still remaining within the petty zone. They didn't call the store. They straight up came to the store and yelled out, "Where's John Smith?" making themselves look like lunatics in front of everyone, including my manager and coworkers who knew for sure John Smith didn't exist among the staff despite the couple's insistence. Nothing big happened after that besides angry arguments about John Smith's existence, but the sight alone still gives me a chuckle when I remember it. Open your car door into mine? Let's see how petty I can get. TLDR. Keep my car and I'll make your life more difficult. This was a couple years ago when I was in law school. I drove a red car, small sedan, relevant. In my condo we had assigned parking spaces. I was next to a pole on my left and another car parked on my right. I took the subway to school and only used my car on the weekends. A year into law school my park spot neighbors got a new car, a big SUV. That was fine, good for them. However, one week I noticed the paint on my right side was getting chipped. I assumed I must have hit something, or it was hail or a rock from the highway. That was a Sunday. I didn't drive anywhere until Friday and noticed the chipped spot was bigger. Becoming suspicious, I looked at the edge of the door of the SUV and there were flecks of red paint. I was annoyed and left them a note to contact me. The note was gone next time I was there and I was not contacted. However, the chip in my car was deeper and there was more red paint on their door. I took pictures of this and brought it to the condo's attention. They didn't have any cameras in the garage that faced me, so they weren't willing to do anything, but they gave me a traffic cone. The idea was the car door would hit the cone instead of my car. I loved the idea, but then I'd noticed that the cone would be moved and my car hit. The cone was entirely in my space. You bet your ass that my petty self got a ruler to verify the cone was moved. I left them a note saying don't move my cone. Note was gone the next day and my cone moved. Condo still wouldn't do anything, but they gave me a second cone. I took great joy in putting the cones on the ground. That worked for a while, but then they started storing their bikes at the top of my space. We are allowed to store items there. I got a third cone and blocked off the top of my space. The end result? In order for anyone on the left side of their car to leave the vehicle, they either had to crawl to the other side or get out of the car before their space, move the cones and then park. I took great pleasure knowing they were inconvenienced. In such a hurry you shove my cart into me and make it harder for me to load my groceries on the belt? Well, Time to use all those extra small gift certificates I keep forgetting. This just happened. I was checking out at the grocery store with a larger line, so they opened another lane and the staff member asked me to come over. I start unloading onto the belt when I realize the guy behind me only has a few items. Except just as I consider letting him go ahead, he gives me a dirty look and puts his things on the belt before I'm anywhere near unloading my very full cart. Well, forget letting him go ahead. Then he starts pushing my cart further to the front, except there's still a COVID barrier, so there's only so far it can go before I can't unload. I push it back and continue unloading, pausing every few minutes to push his food back. Oops, might have squished those rolls a bit. Then he starts telling me I should move, full on gesturing and asking why I can't move up, completely disregarding the barrier. Finally, it's time to pay. Well, I've had these pandemic EBT cards I got for my kids sitting in my wallet for ages because they each only have $10 or so, and I never feel like taking the time to do multiple transactions. How handy that now I have extra time. After all 6 transactions are done, I thanked the cashier for her patience and told him he should apologize.